Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Yes, it was a conflict between just the U.S. and Hamas, and Abbas had no real kind of skin in the game because it was between these two parties, even though it was affecting the Palestinian people directly. But now he's part of a unity government and has some influence with Hamas now, wouldn't you say?
Well, we have no evidence that Hamas plays any role in the interim technocratic government.
All right, folks, that's the pathetic explanation of our State Department. And welcome back. Joining us now is my friend Caroline Glick, senior contributing editor to the Jerusalem Post. Also, she is the author of The Israeli Solution. And Caroline, welcome back. Also, I should point out the director of the Israeli Security Project at the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Before we get to the State Department and the role of the U.S. and the position of the U.S., the latest from Israel, and of course the bombings continue on both sides. Are we headed for a ground war? The troops have been called up. Is it inevitable, do you believe?
Well, I think that it's probably inevitable that there's going to be some ground. There's going to be some part of this operation that's going to involve ground force, frankly, because we can't hit all the targets and destroy all of the targets that we need to in terms of Hamas's military infrastructure from the air alone. I think that it's going to be necessary to have ground forces in. You know, they've made great use of subterranean tunnels to try to infiltrate into Israeli territory. We saw a major operation down south along the border between the Israeli community of Kerem Shalom and Gaza yesterday, where they found 2 tunnels that were already entering into Israeli territory. So I think that even just from that operational perspective, we're going to have some ground component to this campaign. Yes.
How grave a concern are the longer range missiles that Hamas now has and is using?
Well, they're a grave concern because we have over half of the population of Israel that is constantly being forced to go into bomb shelters. You know, in Jerusalem, parents had to wake up their children in the middle of the night last night in order to bring them into bomb shelters. This is really unprecedented, and we've had similar situations now going on in Tel Aviv, where motorists on Israel's busiest highway have to get out of their cars and lie underneath their cars or along the sides of the highway, along the concrete barriers, because air raid sirens went off when they were trying to get home from work. So, I mean, these are situations that are impossible. The threat that it poses to Israel's strategic infrastructures, whether it's a civilian international airport in Tel Aviv or oil refineries or chemical plants or what have you, is large, and I don't think that they have the capacity to have. They don't have precision-guided missiles, to the best of my knowledge. But you know, all of these threats are significant, and as a consequence, it's fairly clear that we have to take the capacity to cause that kind of damage out of the hands of Hamas, which would use it to cause that damage if they have the ability to do so.
And of course, Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he would. There's been some split in the cabinet, or at least reported that some don't feel that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to go far enough. And that brings me to this: you know, watching the media, they're already keeping a count of supposed Palestinian deaths and children's deaths from the Israeli bombings. I heard Erin Burnett. I was watching her yesterday, and she had the Israeli ambassador to the U.S. on, and he talked about what was going on, and she said, yeah, but notwithstanding that, is it worth bombing those missile launchers and rockets in the Gaza if it kills a child? And this is what Israel is up against, and I say that, as you well know, they're up against it. Always have been, always will be. But I ask it because, does Israel have the stomach to go in, finish off Hamas one way or another, as they have the capability to do? But of course, civilians will die. I mean, they didn't do it with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Are they going to do it with Hamas because of the threat? I mean, how can a country live the way Israel's living with the threat of rockets and the rockets themselves falling?
Look, I mean, I think that it's important to keep things in perspective, because even if we were to go in there full force and we brought in divisions and we conquered Gaza, we're not going to be staying in Gaza. We don't have a national interest at this point in continued control over Gaza. And we have to understand a couple of things. One is that there is no better alternative to Hamas. They're all basically the same. I mean, Mahmoud Abbas, who we heard at the beginning of the clip, the United States praising, his Fatah militias in Gaza are active participants in these missile attacks against Israel. You have 3 different Fatah militia that are directly affiliated and under the control of Mahmoud Abbas, who have bragged, who have boasted that they have shot dozens and dozens of rockets and missiles into Israel, claiming that they hit the, quote, settlements of the cities of Ashkelon and Sderot. So, you know, he is an active participant in this battle. Fatah itself is posting on its website and on its Facebook page posters and slogans saying that Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and Fatah are one. They have one God and one goal, to destroy Israel. So, you know, it's important to bear this in mind. There is no actor that's going to be replacing Hamas. If Israel were to destroy Hamas, it would be better than Hamas. We have a situation, Steve, that we've been facing now for over a generation. In fact, since Israel was established, in fact, since the dawn of modern Zionism, which is that we have a region where Jew hatred is so ubiquitous, it's so overwhelming, that everybody knows that they can gain currency on the Islamic street by attacking the Jews. This is why Saddam Hussein attacked Israel with Scuds in the middle of the Persian Gulf War in 1980 and 1991. This is why Hezbollah strikes and continues to fight wars against Israel that it knows it will never win. They do this because this is how they expand their political leverage and power in the Arab world. And they're able to do this because they operate in an international environment characterized by the morally depraved statements by people like State Department officials like Maria Harf and Jen Psaki, who claim that there's some sort of an equivalence on a moral plane or a legal plane between Israel and a legal terrorist organization. All of these things together, the profound hatred of Judaism and Jewish people that is overwhelming in the Arab world, the Islamic world, together with the sympathy and support that these views find among Western countries, whether it's the European Union or U.S. officials for that matter, makes it so that there's never going to be peace. We're never going to find somebody to take over these areas that's not going to want to attack Israel, that's not going to believe that it's in his interest to attack Israel whenever he has the means to do so. And so, unfortunately, it's not clear to me that Israel has a means to achieve a long-standing victory here. I think that what the goal has to be is to destroy as much as possible their ability to harm Israel. The aspiration to do so from a tactical and strategic perspective is going to remain as long as the profound Jew hatred in the region and the sympathy for Jew hatred in the international community in the West remains as it is today. Unfortunately, this is the situation, and there are no good options for Israel except to continue pounding them at every opportunity and deny them the ability to conduct the kind of attacks that they've been doing.
Let me ask you, Caroline, the president on the eve of this puts an op-ed in one of the Israeli newspapers praising Mahmoud Abbas, and you just laid out brilliantly the role of Abbas and Fatah in all of this attacks on Israel, praising Abbas, not even mentioning Benjamin Netanyahu. And what's more, of course, the government of the United States is still supporting, even though Hamas is lobbing rockets into Israel today, still supporting the unity government, which includes Hamas. How is that possible?
Well, I mean, you have to look at it in a couple of ways. This government, this administration in Washington, the Obama administration led by President Obama, has been profoundly unfriendly and hostile indeed to Israel since he was inaugurated into office in January of 2009. So there's no surprise that Obama is treating America's most important ally in the region, Israel, and its elected government, led by Prime Minister Netanyahu, with such contempt and hatred. Having said that, you know, we have to understand that what they are doing in continuing to fund the Palestinian Authority and that incredible statement by the spokesperson for the State Department that there's no evidence that Hamas is a member of the Palestinian government, is not only preposterous, but it beggars belief, because there's no way that you can say that this is a government, what they call of national reconciliation, that is sponsored by Fatah and Hamas, that are partners in this government and in supporting and backing this government. They put in straw men to take cabinet positions, but they are like marionettes that are completely owned and operated by Hamas terror masters. And the White House knows this, and the State Department knows this. The reason why they're lying in such a profound and obnoxious way is because they know that it is an open breach of standing U.S. statute, not of the spirit of the law, but of the letter of the law, for the United States to be passing one red cent to the Palestinian Authority today, now that it is a government that involves a designated foreign terrorist organization.
So in other words, Caroline, we're up against the clock. They're trying to talk their way out of it and make it right. Listen, Caroline, great to talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so
much. Caroline Glick, ladies and gentlemen. Give Me 5 is next on the Steve Malzberg Show.